What did old-fashioned windmills actually do? There were many different purposes, but the most common involved the grinding of wheat to create flour, which could then be used to make bread. A typical grain windmill consists of several key components: the sails, the millstone, the gearing mechanism, and the grain hopper, each part playing a crucial role in the milling process. The sails are carefully designed to capture the wind's energy and convert it into rotational motion. Traditionally made of wood or cloth, these sails are positioned to face the wind to maximise their potential. The gearing mechanism, often comprised of gears and shafts, serves to transmit the rotational motion from the sails to the millstone. At the heart of a windmill lies the millstone, a heavy circular stone with a concave surface. As the sails turn, they power the millstone, which grinds grains such as wheat, corn or barley into flour or meal through the process of abrasion. The grain hopper, located above the millstone, stores the grains awaiting milling. Gravity feeds the grains into the centre of the millstone, where they are then ground into flour or meal. And that is how you get your flour. Overall, the windmill saves the farmer time, being one of the earliest machines in history and being one of the first steps towards industrialisation. Imagine in caveman times, for example, the farmers would have to crush the grain themselves with stones. The history, however, is particularly interesting. The story of windmills begins over 1,000 years ago in Persia, around 500 to 900 AD. These early windmills, known as Panemone Windmills, had vertical sails made from bundles of reeds or wood. They were primarily used for the grinding of grain and pumping water, transforming the landscape and local economies. There are arguments that suggest wind power devices could have been used before these, but these are the first official windmills. Yet, due to their shape, were often very inefficient, being unable to capture a decent amount of wind. No wonder they were eventually replaced. By the 12th century, windmill technology evolved as the iconic post-mill style also emerged during this period, characterised by its ability to rotate to face the wind. The earliest of these seems to have been invented in England, a country that always seems to be one step ahead of the industrialisation curve. The entire structure sat on a single post, allowing the mill to be turned into the wind by a long tail pole attached to the body. These mills became vital for milling grain into flour, essential for communities across the continent. This mill would also be replaced by a more efficient model, the tower mill, where only the cap of the tower mill rotated to face the wind, while the main structure remained stationary. This design improved efficiency and stability. Tower mills quickly spread throughout Europe for these superior qualities. In the 14th and 15th century, the tower mill began to appear widespread, yet evidence is able to date them back to England much earlier, to around the 13th century, only 100 years after the invention of the post mill. What is interesting to me is that evidence of these even date back to 1180 under Norman Britain, which could potentially date them before the post mill. Could it be possible that perhaps the original post mills were invented earlier, but none survived due to them being wooden and decaying over the centuries? The easier production of flour would lead to both more food and more free time, as people became less occupied with the farming process, allowing them to go into other disciplines, helping overall economic output, playing a role, if only minor, in helping the Renaissance kick off throughout Europe. The Netherlands became renowned for their windmills in the 16th and 17th centuries. Dutch engineers innovated with the smock mill, a type of tower mill with a wooden frame that could be covered with thatch or wood. Dutch windmills were not only used for grinding grain, but also for land reclamation, pumping water to drain the marshes and create arable land. This engineering prowess transformed the Dutch countryside, shaping it into the iconic landscapes we recognise today. Yet it was necessary, as much of the Netherlands is below sea level, meaning they had to use these early wind-powered machines to be able to adapt to their own climate, hence why the vast quantity of windmills exist in the Netherlands. With the advent of the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, steam power began to replace wind power. The efficiency and reliability of steam engines meant that windmills became less economically viable. Many fell into disuse or were repurposed for other functions. Even those in the Netherlands would eventually get replaced, especially by electrical automation, but many can still be seen and still operate to this day. Lastly, the 20th century saw a resurgence of interest in wind power. The first electricity generating wind turbine was invented by Charles F. Brush in 1888 America. However, it wasn't until the energy crisis of the 1970s that wind turbines began to develop rapidly. Modern wind turbines are descendants of these early designs, incorporating advanced aerodynamics, better materials and engineering to maximise efficiency and output. Yet there are numerous complaints about them being both eyesores and killing wildlife, particularly birds, as they get caught up in the rotors. Now these turbines create electricity that has many uses, but certainly not limited to the automatic process of turning grain into flour. And with that, I hope you enjoyed and learnt something. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe to get notified of more. It really helps me out. But for now, goodbye.